Hello there guys and welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week I am again joined by Luke and Tom of the pop-punk band Royals. So if you didn't tune in last week, I recommend you go check out that because that was part one of our conversation. And so this week is part two. So for a little brief of what we spoke about, and we continue talking about sort of music videos and song meanings. We talk about Worldwide Catastrophe. We speak about anticipation for future live shows, as well as the future of the band and the songwriting process. We then also speak about the theme for their EP, A Spark to Ignite, which is now out. And I have included links for that in the description to Spotify, so make sure you check that out. As well as interactions with the fan base, toxic positivity, and lots of other similar topics. So it's a really great conversation. If you did tune in last week, then you'll know how good this conversation is going to be this week. And yeah, just go check out their EP. I think it's absolutely fantastic. 5 banging tracks. I think they all have music videos as well, so go check those out on the YouTube channel. And yeah, they're just really, really nice guys. It was a pleasure to speak with them. Also in the description there is not only Royals on Spotify and their EP, but also they've got a custom Spotify playlist, which I think was spoken about in part one of the chat. It might be in this part as well, I can't fully remember. But they have a custom Spotify playlist where they put a lot of music in, which is bands that are associated with them and music they generally like. So if you want new music and Royals just aren't quite enough for you, then make sure you check out their custom Spotify playlist as well, which includes their music and lots of other cool bands too. There's not really much else to add here, guys, so I'll be back at the end of this conversation to give you more information of what's coming up with Genuine Chit-Chat and a bit more information too. And I just want to quickly apologise, I sound really bunged up at the moment. I've got really, really bad hay fever, so my nose is horrendously blocked up and I'm just chewing gum at the moment to try and alleviate it and not sneeze all over my microphone. So the main conversation doesn't sound anything like that because that was recorded, a few weeks ago now, but just want to clarify, if I sound bunged up, that is why. Anyway, enough rambling, on with the show. So I'll be back at the end to give you more information. So I give you Royals. Welcome to Genuine Chit-Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton. With Worldwide Catastrophe, that was obviously, once again, with Tom and whatnot. So the theme of the song itself, though, let's go with that, then we'll go into the video a little bit. So Worldwide Catastrophe, what's that sort of meaning and what kind of came about with those lyrics?
Yeah, that's another big one. This one, this is a fun one really and kind of breaks a lot of people's expectations. So given the title of the song and given the time it was released, everyone just thinks, oh, it's about COVID. Given it's called Worldwide Catastrophe and we're going through a global pandemic, everyone just links it straight to COVID. Now, in some ways that could be seen as correct and kind of is, but the song was actually written, so the lyrics were written, I was away, I was in a hotel on business, I was doing some work and I was like, I'm going to finish this song tonight. And it was about, a couple of weeks into COVID, like there was no lockdown. It was like, January, February, it was like early days of COVID. And I was writing this song about how we live in this world full of greed and selfishness, hate, we still have racism, we still have problems with poverty and homeless people and just people who are just dicks. Like there's just so many problems. I mean, a lot of I don't know the right word for it, just toxic people, not a great place to there's lots of things that we need to fix, right? So it was singing about that. So the first lyric is take a walk out on the streets, tell me what you see, the selfish greed, the apathy, a living catastrophe. So it's it's not about COVID, it's about the problems we deal with in this world. So when COVID then hit and became a thing, the lyrics were still kind of being finished and tweaked and they kind of took on a second meaning. And then we had the Black Lives Matter protests and all of the other stuff that happened, all the corruption with the police, which, these things have been going on for years and years. And I just think, how are we still experiencing these problems in 2021? Obviously at the time it's 2020, but it's still going on. We're still not through these problems. And it's I want to sing about that. I want to put that message down, in words on paper and sing about that and try and just use our small platform that we have to just spread that little bit of a message. So that's kind of where the lyrics come from and the theme of the song. So it's not just about COVID, you can kind of blend it in there because it's another bad global thing that's happened with the world, and it is a catastrophe at the end of the day. And then it's even more of a catastrophe how the British government deal with it. So so you can kind of put it in there like that. It's all of these things. And yeah, I don't normally like to get too political, to be honest, because it can be one of those things where you don't want to say the wrong thing because you're always going to upset somebody, right? You're always going to piss somebody off. But then I was like, nah, fuck this. Like, I'll just say it as it is. Like, this is what I believe and this is what we believe. And a lot of people in our generation are going to feel the same way. And if you don't, then you know what you can do on, like, you don't need to be a part of this band. If you don't agree with like certain things like that we feel, then I feel quite strongly about that. And which is very weird because I never used to be like that. But yeah, that's that. Sorry to kind of rant, but yeah, that's what that's about.
That's completely fine. It's always good to have songs, with a wide variety of meanings as well. And the thing is with songs, especially when you are a songwriter and things, there's certain things that come to you quite sort of out of the blue and things. I mean, there's an artist called Hopsin who's a rapper, and he releases songs so sporadically. He would just hear nothing for ages, then there'll just be a song drop, and it would just be whatever he's kind of experiencing at the time, and he changes genre in them and all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, that's quite refreshing a lot of the time, because there's a lot of the times where there's a lot of bands that we all like. I call this Kill Switch Engage syndrome, and I love Kill Switch Engage. They were one of my first band loves, and both main vocalists, I think Jesse Leach and Howard Jones, are excellent, and all the instrumentalists in them are phenomenal. But every album they release, every song on the album sounds like every song on the album. And for me, when I was interpreting them, I was like, they're all generally about the same sort of thing as well. So it's just like this one album, all of it's generally the same. And that's fine when you love it, because I call Kill Switch Engage syndrome, because so many bands I love that do it. And I think Stick to Your Guns do it per album a little bit as well. And I love them too. But it's like, oh, I love this one song. Oh, that's good. You're going to love the next 9 because they're all basically, they're so similar. And the thing is, with lyrical content and with themes as well, it's good to be able to, not be stuck in one lane necessarily. You've got certain bands who specifically, stray from the path. They're quite political and that's their thing. Yep. But I do like it when you listen to bands and you can sort of dive deep into different songs on the same EP or different releases, and you can find different connections to the members of the band in that sort of way, if you see where I'm coming from.
100%. I totally agree. And there's nothing wrong doing it either way. Like, there are bands that I listen to that are like all kind of along the same line.
100%.
Like, that's their thing. Like, if they've got something down and like it's done well for them, then like continue doing that. Like, I'm totally fine with that. I mean, Architects put out like a very similar sounding like 3 or 4 albums, but
oh yeah,
smash.
100%.
I mean, and and I don't know if you ever listened to like way back in the day. Did you ever listen to Woe Is Me?
Oh yeah, I used to love Woe Is Me, and then they changed the drama around all the bands was mental. But yeah, I used to love Woe Is Me. Yeah,
so much mess around that. But like the first album, the one that had like Delinquents on, I genuinely could not tell sometimes like when it was going from song to song, because like there was like 10 songs that sounded the same, but I still loved it. Like, it was just
100%
experience. But I think for us, like we totally have some songs that are similar, and like on this EP, like most of them are really different. So like, Out of Reach is kind of like about sort of chasing your dreams and like trying to, I guess, like it just being out of reach, it's almost there, but all the problems that come with that. So it was kind of about like being in a band and wanting to like make something of your life and do something you enjoy rather than working your standard 9 to 5 sort of thing. But then you've got Fair Weather Friend, which is about like, shitty friends who aren't there for you when you need them and stuff. Now, the only ones that really are any similar is that and Gone, because Gone is kind of a similar concept. It's like, right, it's like, how many times can this person like keep doing this to me before I'm just going to leave them, right? So it's like, not trying to give away any lyrics there. Tom is probably looking at me like, what are you saying?
No, I was just waiting for you to actually just say the line.
Yeah. So like, they're similar, but every other song is very different in terms of the concept and the lyrics. And it felt the writing process for this EP lyrically was very different. So the first EP, we had obviously our ex-bassist Lewis, and he was in my old band, Gone by Tomorrow, and he was the vocalist. He was like the heavy screamer, if you want to call it that. So he was like a lyricist. So like when we wrote the first EP, it was kind of good, but kind of difficult because we used to clash, because like he wanted to be a big part of the lyrics, but then I also wanted to be a big part of it because I'm singing them. So it's like, I need it to mean something to me. And because of that, we ended up either having songs that didn't really mean anything, or they were kind of like, we'd have to write something each. So there was a couple of songs that were on the first EP, which lyrically are my favorite because like they meant something to me. But then there are a couple that literally meant nothing. And it made it incredibly hard to like sort of put the passion into those as much. So it was different this time around because it was just all me. It was like, right, each song is going to mean something. This is how I feel right now. This is what I want to sing about. And it's going to go on paper right now. And then I'm going to record it. Like, so yeah, but I'm quite excited for people to kind of hear listen through the whole EP as, you know, as a one piece, and just kind of decipher each song and like listen to like the lyrics and the music and kind of get a vibe for like what we're actually trying to put across.
So thematically, you've explained that each individual song has its own identity and things, but as an EP, is there a theme that you're going for this release in particular?
There's always a theme with like my songs, right? So my kind of overall theme is normally about trying to like sing about and write about like a bad situation or a bad experience or something like that's not so good, right? But putting like a positive spin on it and like trying to be like, right, this can get better, or, you know, so like with Worldwide Catastrophe, it's about all, you know, talking about obviously living in a world full of all these bad things, but it's like we can be like the voice and the generation to fix that, right? So the lyrics like, there's got to be a better way than to watch the world go up in flames. We can be the tidal wave. So it's like, right, we can put this fire out. So that's kind of the positive spin on there. And then you look at like a song like Gone, which is about to come out, and it's about like, you know, people and friends like letting you down and not being there for you. It's like, right, okay, well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to be better without them, right? So it's always like taking a bad situation and be like, right, putting the positive spin on it. Like, and the idea for that for me is, right, music is a form of a release for a lot of people and a way they can connect and get a lot of emotion out and make them feel better, right? So if they go through this bad situation and they happen to relate it to the words I'm singing, I'm hoping that they'll go, oh, I'm experiencing this, that I feel this, and this person's singing about like a way it can be better. And it might not always be that relatable, but like the idea is it kind of puts that message across of like trying to spread positivity and like make the best of a bad situation. Now, with all of that said, Jaded kind of doesn't fit that vibe. That's the one song that doesn't, and that is purely because that was how I felt. I felt really down, and I just did not see like any light at the end of the tunnel, which is why like it's so weird for me, because like it's quite a depressing song lyrically, but then it's like the happiest song musically. It's like so like upbeat and like sounds really happy. But overall, the theme is kind of putting positive spins on bad things, and that is kind of why we got the name A Spark to Ignite, not only because it's a lyric, but also it says like we can like, you know, light this flame, you know. And there's also a lyric about that in Jaded as well. So
I think it works having that sort of one song that's a bit more of a heavier song lyrically in that way, because it's kind of like if each thing is kind of becoming optimistic and going up a little bit, you've kind of got to have that one down just to pull it down a bit more, just so it can kind of fleck back up again in a sense. And it does work because, you know, even when you're trying to have a positive outlook and positive mindset, that doesn't mean every single day you are positive. Like you I think the three of us, because obviously I know Tom from outside of this podcast, but I think the three of us have that kind of outlook, and it's a good one to have, which is, you know, kind of, you could expect the worst, hope for the best, but try and be positive about the things, because it's like, yeah, life can be really, really shit at times, but there's enough of that going around a lot of the time. If we try and sometimes focus on the good, that can really be beneficial. But there are some days where it is just too much, and there's nothing wrong with having those days, which are down days. You know, it's more so overall, try and pick yourself back up, try and be happy, but let yourself have those down days if you need them.
Literally that, yeah. Not to get too dark or anything, but like I did, I mean, I still kind of am. I'm just being completely honest here. Like I've been doing some therapy recently, and it's all about sort of like behavioral therapy. So it's to like help with like your mood and your thoughts, right? So, and the biggest takeaway is like when bad things happen, it does happen to everybody. It's like the way you process the thoughts and the way you act on them is what affects your mood. So it's like if you just try to be more positive and see the best in things, you're going to be happier, right? So although I felt really crap, and loads of people did over the last year, because it wasn't just because of COVID, everyone's got their own thing going on, but then you add on like this global pandemic that then hits you in so many different ways, it made it hard for a lot of people, right? And everyone I spoke to was like, whenever I started opening up, people were like, oh yeah, I've been the same, like I've been really down, like not being able to see any friends or anything, being lonely. So like it's like, okay, we've all been through that, like, and there is just no good on this. Like, in all honesty, it's like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, because we're constantly in a lockdown and no one knows what's going on. So that's why it is so dark, but it's kind of fitting. It's placed fourth on the EP, and then Out of Reach is the fifth song, which is a very inspirational, big song. So it kind of like does dip, and then it comes back up in terms of like the concept of the lyrics. So I think it's sort of found its place.
And Tom, with you, obviously, even though you haven't specifically contributed lyrically to this release itself, I assume that a lot of the themes in it and a lot of the lyrics in some of the songs have been connecting with you as an individual as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, like Luke said, the other songs were written prior to me joining, but Jaded was the one that was written while I was in the band. So, I mean, yeah, like you came to me for quite a few different things, like I'm thinking of this or this, and yeah, I sort of gave a bit more opinion on that, but they're definitely relatable. And I think although the other 4 songs might have that positive spin and Jaded doesn't, it's almost got its own positive spin in the sense of like, it's all right not to be okay, and it's all right to feel this way. And that's fine. And you don't need to have that positive spin all the time. And it's okay to have that day. But like Luke says, if it's 4th on the EP followed by an inspirational track, it's almost, if you saw that as a day, and that day is negative, the next day or the next track could be better. And sometimes I think, you know, if someone hears a person or an artist constantly going on about how great everything is, that almost makes them less relatable as well, because they're like, oh, they don't feel like this, so it's just me. But I think it was very sort of opening to listeners to be like, oh, so other people feel like this, it's not just me. So
it definitely helped with like our sort of community and like fan base, because we straight away had like lots of people opening up to us. We have like a Discord group chat, and you know, I sort of opened up in there and let people kind of open up, and you know, we sort of put out a hand and said like, you know, if people want to talk, like we're here, like we want to spread the message about like, you know, people go through these things, but it's okay to not be okay, and you know, if you want to chat with us, sort of thing. So yeah, like not to be a downer, like it's more like being positive about this in a way. It's kind of like there shouldn't be a stigma around mental health and people being down, especially not at the moment, like really not. But on the positive side of it, fingers crossed, things are getting better in terms of COVID and pandemic, and I think lots of people are going to start to be able to get back out there and have fun again, and hopefully it won't just be another year of depression for the UK.
There's a word that I was trying to think of about, and it kind of resonated me with Jaded, was just that, you know, like when you tell someone how you're feeling or something like that, and then they're like, oh, it'll get better, or, you know, keep your head up, and then just move on from it. And I feel like what Jaded did for, like Luke said, the Discord group and things like that, was made, you know, a few fans of ours feel like, okay, we don't just have to take it on the chin and keep going. It's like actually open up, talk about it, figure out what's going on, and then work out a way forwards, rather than just dismissing it as a quick, like, it'll be all right. It's called like negative something, I think, but there is a word for it, which I can't remember, which isn't very helpful right now.
I know exactly what you mean. It's so typical for people to go, oh yeah, chin up, oh, it'll get better, you'll be all right.
It's like dismissal, isn't it, almost? It's just like, whereas I think what this, what the EP does, with Out of Reach being at the end, which is, it's one of my favourite tracks, is like, it kind of allows you to say, right, you can spend time, the Jaded is like, right, this is the time where kind of you're going to have to, at some point, stand back up again and get ready. But while you don't, you can stay here as long as you want. But when you're ready to move on, here's Out of Reach, pull you out. And it's a real nice imagery of that. And I really like that message. And I think with a lot of our generation and a lot of our generation's music, especially, like going from pop artists all the way to the strangest alternative artists across the board in music, a lot of expression now is about mental health. Before COVID and things, it was a lot more about accepting each other and being able to actually talk about it. And it's like, one doesn't always fully understand how much people's reach can be. You know, I've had people contact me and say, oh, this podcast you had with this individual was really inspirational. It was great. And it was like, well, for me, it was just, you know, a fun, cool conversation. But for this person, it meant something. I think a lot of people, when they look at other people's music, and they can be quick to dismiss things, even though it's like, well, just because it didn't necessarily mean something to you doesn't mean it won't mean something to other people. And you don't know where these little sort of, you can touch someone almost really gently, but to them, it's like this big impact. You can have people who you have one conversation with them and they remember that for years on gone, because of it's just, you don't know how you're going to impact people. So I really like the message that you're spreading with the EP and the individual songs as well.
Yeah, it even made us do it. I mean, like when Luke messaged the band chat at some point and said like, yeah, I'm sorry to get real deep there. And then we all just ended up getting deep and opening up. And it was kind of like, it even did that for us. So to even get it outside the band was really good. And the word I was thinking of is toxic positivity. That's what I was trying, which is just like, quick Google search, is the belief that no matter how dire or difficult a situation is, people should maintain only a positive mindset. And it's like, it's not always that simple. So yeah, toxic positivity.
Yeah, you shouldn't be that for either. You shouldn't be for positive mindsets or negative. But if we move on slightly to something more positive, I mean, I do love talking about deep subjects and things, but, you know, you guys have got so many aspects to talk about. I want to try and touch on quite a few of them. And one was sort of, it was touched on with the community element of it. And what I've noticed, obviously, you guys have been doing a lot is you could be getting into Twitch, and you've been playing like Smash Bros and things like that. And that's been like really cool to sort of watch and things. Even Megan, she was saying she was watching them as well. And so, like, how has that been like? During the lockdown especially, the only way you've been interact with your fans and community has been via obviously the new releases, which you obviously have to time and orchestrate all the sort of other things that go with it, but you've been able to do it in other ways. So I wonder if you could just talk about how that's been.
Yeah, it's been really good. I think like if you can take anything good away from like COVID and like lockdown is like finding new ways to connect with people like almost, I feel like I've started talking to people more now than I ever used to, like meeting, like talking with like family and friends more than ever, because you're like, you realize when you take something for granted, like you miss it, right? So it's like, okay, everyone using Zoom and video chat more and like being online and stuff. So we were like, what can we do, right? We want to like connect with people. We don't want, one, the band to die out, but two, we actually want to be able to connect with people and like provide something. So we started the Twitch gaming side of things. Not just gaming, but just anything. We thought, we're going to start trying to live stream more often. And we do want to make it a weekly thing on a regular basis. We've done a few, but then it is quite hard with like everyone working full time and stuff. It's quite hard to keep up, but that's going to be a thing. And then we've got our Discord group, which is just sort of for like, you know, fans and everything to like connect with us and chat personally. And we try to be just sort of, I don't know the right word, just try to sort of be there online so that we can kind of always respond to people.
Have a presence.
Yeah. We just like to be sort of present so that we can like communicate with like the you know, the Royals community, and like we sort of welcome anybody in. Like it's not, you know, we're not trying to be like, oh, we're some massive band with like this big like super fan group. That's not really the point of it. It's like we just want to build like a community of people that like, okay, yeah, they like our music and they follow our band, but it's like we all like the same things. We all like music. We all like, you know, these things. And it's easy to get on and chat with those people because you have things in common. So it's not just for us and them, it's for them, like those people who are part of the community, to communicate with each other and kind of make friends and meet people and stuff, even if it's just online. So yeah, I don't know if Tom has anything to add to that, but that's kind of like my sort of viewpoint on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like you say, there's often times where the Discord group's going off and none of us are even in it, and it's just people connecting, you know, someone in San Francisco talking to someone in Germany, and they're just talking about their day, and it's quite nice to see. But I mean, the Twitch stuff also came about because me and Luke were just gaming all the time anyway, like especially when I sort of first joined, and I was like, we could easily just stream this and people might enjoy it because it's fun. But so yeah, we definitely need to get back on that.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It's just like there are so many elements of being in a band that people don't fully appreciate. You know, there's all of the elements of releasing the music itself, and then there's the online presence, there's gigs and all these sort of things. So if we move on to sort of gigs, which has obviously been the big thing that's been missing from like the thing I've probably missed the most about COVID, I think, aside from being able to see friends whenever I kind of want to, you know, we had a bit of, you know, being able to do it and then less so and then more so. So over the year, I've been able to have like bouts of seeing friends. But the one thing where I didn't realize how much I missed until it really went was gigs. And like, I'm not even in a band. So I think that being in a band, obviously being a fan of music, and obviously, Tom, you and I have spoken about, there's several bands that we're hoping are going to play nearby that we're going to go see and things. But it's just like, because a lot of them are American, we're just like, we have to wait for the American tour to start once COVID is over, and then them eventually come over here. And there's just so many bands now that I've kind of got stockpiled that I've got into over COVID. And I'm like, right, now the next 3 years is going to be like a gig like every single week just to scratch that itch. So yeah, for you guys, it must have really been the same. If Tom, if you want to say about,
I hadn't even thought about that. Like all the American bands are going to want to tour America before they come over here, so it's going to be even longer wait.
Yeah.
What was your question?
About having like an itch in a sense, like being in a band, especially where you've been sort of recently joined the band, like being like, I just want to play this stuff live and I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of weird because we didn't really fully get that feeling until we were at the rehearsal, and then it was like, oh damn, like now I really want to play us live. I've got a taste for it, but just missing it in general. Like now I think back at some of the shows that I maybe saw one band on the lineup and they're playing kind of far away, and I was like, it's on a weeknight. I don't know and now it's like, I will take anything. Like I'll drive that 2 hours to see the small support band that I like one song on, just to get a taste of it again. And that's the part I'm hoping that a lot of people will miss it, because when shows do come back, hopefully that'll bring in bigger crowds and sort of build up a scene again.
Yeah, see, what you just said there kind of hits the nail on the head. It's like back in the day, right? So it got to a point where I felt like, especially with like local smaller bands, it was so hard to get people out to shows, man. Like even your friends and people who actually like your band, even then it's still hard, especially if it's not on like a Friday or Saturday night. It's incredibly hard. And it's like, I feel like now, like people are in a position where it's like they just want to get out, right, and do something. And if they like music, they want to go and watch live music. They want to go out, have some drinks. And so we've obviously got, and we might talk about this. We've also got some shows coming up soon, which hopefully going to go ahead. And I was messaging around a few friends recently, like, hey, do you want to like come down to the show? You can get a ticket and stuff. Here's the link. And the amount of people that responded, that was like I had a friend from school who I haven't really seen him that often since we left school. We meet up like once a year, and he messaged and was like, yeah, we've got like 6 tickets. We're coming down with a bunch of friends. And I was like, man, he's never been to one of my gigs before. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm kind of hoping it's the same for like a lot of people. Like, I'm dying to get back out there. Like, we went from, I've been gigging as long as I've been in bands. So since like 15, 16, and then to have a year of that, or more than a year of that taken away, it sucked. Like by the time we actually gig again, I think it's over 18 months in total. So it's just depressing.
I can't wait to see you guys as well. There's quite a few bands. There's like around this, there's like a 2-month period where I've got like 4 bands. I'm just like, there's 3 of them are smaller bands. It's like, I need to see them. Like one of them is Millie Manders and the Shut Up, and she was on the show a little while ago, and I was just like, I need, like, as any band I'll be happy with, but even when it's smaller bands, I'll be more excited, because I'm like, oh, I not only do I know them and I can talk to them, but I can also support them. And it's just like how enthusiastic they'd be. Because like obviously people like, a big example is like Billie Eilish, who I personally do like her music and things, but it's just like, she's probably making enough money on Spotify and whatnot to be fine, But with smaller bands, it's not only, you don't even necessarily get paid for certain gigs, and it's not necessarily your income, but it's like, it can mean so much more to you in the sense of like the connection to your fans is more tightly knit in a lot of ways, and being able to, without having infinite money and having to do like 9-to-5 jobs and all these sorts of other things that you have to do without getting to scratch the itch of performing live. Like, what are the things in Jaded, especially when sort of the red light comes on, you guys go a bit more mental. I was watching it and I was like, it makes me want to show, because I can see you guys all like bouncing and stuff, and I'm just like,
When we played that song for the first time and it like kicked off, like that was like the first song I just felt I was starting to jump around to, like that and Gone, and hopefully people agree when they hear this. Those 2 songs like live they're gonna be nuts. I can't wait. Like when, like Tom said, when we had that rehearsal, it really was like, oh my god, I want to play gigs now. So I totally get that, and I don't know, like I feel like I am hoping, and I do feel like it's going to go the way where people are going to want to come out to shows. Like I was worried at first, like, are people going to be wary because of COVID and things like that? And I've only had one person so far say they're not sure because of COVID and they want to like get jabbed first and stuff, which I get. I'm like completely supportive of like safety first. And I wouldn't even want to play a gig if the circumstances weren't safe. Because to me, it goes against like my morals. Like I don't want to get anyone ill and potentially kill somebody. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, of course.
That sounds so brutal. Just
it's true though, isn't it? It is, unfortunately, it could happen.
It's not a metal show unless someone dies.
Literally, so we want to make sure it's safe, and I really am hopeful it's all going to go ahead, and we're going to see like a whole bunch of friends down at like the first few shows, or like the local one or whatever, and just have an awesome time. Just have some drinks, see some people you've not seen for a while, and just party and listen to music and watch the other support bands and be able to go up to them at the end and go, "Good set, bro." Like I've not been able to do that in like 2 years, so. That's going to be fun. Yeah, man, I'm just excited. I don't know if you can tell. I'm just buzzing.
You got a massive smile on your face, and it's one of those things. Like I'm excited for you. Like all the artists I speak to, it's almost like it makes me think of like you've got like a dog, and they're just like they're hungry. You've given them some food. Okay, they got that. They got their favorite toy. Okay, they're ready. Then they're at the door, and they're ready to go for a walk. and they just can't go out, and it's like, everything else is fine, I've got everything ready, everything is prepared, I'm ready to go out, just you're kind of shaking with energy and anticipation, like, just open the door, let me like use up all this energy. Like, I think the first, if lockdown sort of eases up and it doesn't go into another lockdown, I think for just like the first year of everything being open, we're going to get some of the best live shows across the board of all genres, of just people having that energy. Like, there's not going to be tour fatigue when that comes out of things. It's not going to be like, oh, I've been touring for 3 years and I just need a break. It's like, no, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go for the next 30 years. Let's just do it.
And with you guys touring, I spoke to Tom a little bit about this, the sort of the general plans of things. You guys must be quite excited because obviously you're planning to kind of generally get like a van and to play around together and things. So I'm interested, like, when it comes to touring and things, is it going to be the shows themselves that are the sort of some of the highlights? Are you looking forward to the sort of camaraderie of the band kind of bonding hugely? Is it like a mix? What are the sort of things that are really you're excited about with this specific tour?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a bit of both. Like, the last tour we done with the band before the new guys were in, we hired a van for the week, and it was the first time in a long time with Royals, it was the first time we'd ever done a tour where we were all in the same vehicle and together 24/7. Like, whereas beforehand it was like someone always had to like go back and work half a day or something because like work was shit, or we had to take 2 cars. I'm sure Tom can relate to the work thing. He's laughing. Whereas like when you're all in the same vehicle, you've got a van, and I don't even care about being designated driver. Like, I sing, so I drink a lot of water, and I don't really get drunk too much because like I have to sing. So even when I'm driving, just like blasting a playlist on for songs that we all love, like with the windows down in the summer, and then playing an awesome gig, and then in the nighttime, like pissing about in like a hotel room and like eating pizza and all the, just chilling. Like, so it all kind of goes hand in hand, but then at the same time, playing live shows to like a group of people where like, hopefully a few of them know your songs and everyone's having a good time, and people coming up to chat to us at the end or before we play or whatever, like just excited to kind of connect with people in person. Like, we do have some solid fans who I know like will come to like, like especially our local shows, and they'll come up and have a chat with us, and we'll have a drink together and stuff, and it will just be like good old times. So it's a good mixture, both the playing and, I mean, we have to bond. We've not really, like, we obviously get on and we've all bonded, and me and Tom have a lot in common, so we bonded really quickly, which was great. But to do it like on the road, like a normal band, like I can't wait for that, because we all just, like, everyone's such great guys and we all get on. So I feel like it's just going to be like fun times all around.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Tom, or has Luke summed it up perfectly?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, for me, I'm looking forward to that, because the only times we've been all together is one rehearsal and then the music videos. And even those, although they're a lot of work, we still have tons of fun when we're not shooting. So to think taking that into a non-timed, no pressure environment, it's just going to be chaos. And yeah, going to be loads of fun. Lots of Auntie Donna quotes, I'm sure.
I love that. It's like you do a tour and it's like, okay, yeah, you need to load in, sound check, and then you have to play your set right. So realistically, like, you only need to be like busy like during that small evening portion, and even like during the show, like you'll normally do your sound check and then you'll go out and get some food or whatever. So, but it's like you've got like all day, then you've got the nighttime after the show. You're normally up for a couple of hours, whether we get a hotel room or whatever we do, or we're trying to like crash somewhere. Like, there's so much downtime, and it's essentially, to me, it's like a holiday. It's like, you're off work and it's my holiday. Like, I've never gone on as many holidays as the average person, because I would say, like, if you get 4 or 5 weeks holiday a year, like 70% of that for me has always been time off for gigs and tours. So like, I don't really ever get to go on holiday. Like, I always promise Lauren like a week or two, like most, for us to like plan a holiday, and the rest is for gigs. So this year she's been quite lucky. So I think, like, for me, it's just a good break and a great time with your mates. So I think it's going to be good.
That's awesome. Well, it's getting quite late, so we'll start to sort of wrap up around this time. Then we've just got a couple more things to touch on, which I suppose one of the big things is, obviously, you've got the EP coming out, and then you're going to be touring with that as well. But if we said a year or maybe 2 years on, what would be the ideal? Like, are you guys looking to, like, for example, you can release a few just singles for a while, there's EPs, there's saving up for an album, there's sort of, is there something in particular that you are specifically aiming for once the dust has settled around Spark to Ignite?
I think so. Yeah, I think like we've already kind of discussed a few ideas moving forward. So like I think once the EP drops next month, we will definitely be looking to release some more music towards the end of the year. So we'll probably have a little break so we can play some shows and kind of prep for that. So I'd expect, at least a couple of singles before the end of the year. And then obviously we're going to kind of like play it by ear a little bit, but we'll probably be putting out like singles on the regular because it's kind of hard for a self-funded, smaller, up-and-coming band to kind of fund like a full album and everything in one go. And although we could probably do it, we want to do it when the time's right and it's worth it to the bands. So like we'll probably be putting out plenty of singles, playing loads of gigs, and just trying to build our sort of fan base so that we can come to a point where we're like, right, okay, let's do an album and smash out a good album and hopefully look to take things up to the next level. But other than that, there's not any like solid concrete plans as of yet. We've talked about, I don't know if I'm allowed to hear any spoilers. We've talked about potentially some. No, actually, I can't say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm sorry. I've just built up everyone's home.
Are you planning on doing some more covers? Is that what's going to be on the table?
No, I don't think so. If we were going to do any covers, it probably wouldn't be like a full-on like professionally recorded thing. Like we might do some. It depends on how the gigs and like lockdown goes. If everything clears up, probably not. But if things are like this any longer, we probably will start to do some more stuff from home and maybe put out some like self-recorded like covers and stuff, and just bits of content like that. Maybe some like acoustic, like we've been doing like live performances from home, which is basically just we all record our bit at home and then I like edit the video and mix the song and stuff. So we'll probably do some more stuff like that and some like acoustic stuff. But I think there's basically word of just maybe adding a couple of brand new tracks and maybe some acoustic songs towards the end of the year. So we'll see how that will be.
I thought you were not saying something else, but I'm glad I didn't try and finish your sentence now.
So many secret things.
Like we basically discussed the possibility of something. We don't want to like say it in case one, it doesn't happen.
No, of course.
And two, if it does happen, I don't want to ruin it. So let's.
What I was thinking was Christmas related. So I was completely way off by that.
Oh, that's a hint then. That's the thing. Just make sure you follow us constantly all the way throughout this year, especially all the way through Christmas. And just out of interest, one last thing that I've, not last thing, but one thing I thought of in relation to covers and live. Do you guys, with your live set, is it going to be basically the entirety of the EP? Are there going to be some of the older tracks from the previous EP? What kind of set list are we looking at? Covers or what are you thinking?
So for like our headline sets for like our local shows, it's probably going to be pretty much our entire discography. Definitely the new EP the new EP in full. Probably most of the tracks, if not all of them, off the first EP, and then maybe the cover. I'm not sure on that one just yet. For the sort of support slots where we're sort of getting half hour, it's going to be the full EP, and I expect a couple of tracks off the first EP, some of our more favorite ones. So still kind of piecing it all together. I think we've got a rough plan that's kind of coming together over the next couple of weeks when we're rehearsing again. And then I think it's going to be, I think people are going to like it. I think we're going to be playing like with like a half hour set, especially we're going to be playing like the best of what we've got. So I think it's going to be good fun.
And last thing, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but just sort of final things regarding live will be what one song each of you is your top song that you're excited to play live. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I thought I'd each ask of you, if you could only choose one, if you had to choose like one song to showcase just to play live for fun, what would it be?
Okay, I'm going to go with, it's going to be annoying for people because they've probably not heard it, so I'm going to go with Gone. So Nice. So the last release on the EP, Gone, it's my favorite single. It's my favorite song we've ever written, and it does just slap live. It's just, I don't know, it's just the right tempo. Like you can jump to it, you can bounce to it. It's got a catchy chorus. I think that one's going to be killer.
What about you, Tom?
Narrowing it down to one's difficult. I'm going to go Out of Reach just because for me it's the most fun to play, and I don't think you guys have ever played it live anyway, but.
Yeah, we did, unfortunately, before you were part of the band, buddy. We did. We played Fair Weather Friend and Out of Reach like a handful of times. I think we played it for like one tour of like 4 or 5 days and a couple of odd shows. And then COVID was like, nah, mate, see you later.
Right, fair. Okay, so yeah, like that's one for me that I'd like to see the reactions to, because there's obviously a lot of like wows and stuff the audience can get involved with. So,
well, actually, come to think of it, when we played them, they weren't released. So we played them unreleased, which is very unusual for me because I don't like doing that. But we had like a headline set to fill on one of the Southampton shows, so we added both. But yeah, we have played those. It's funny you choose that because like I love that song so much, but it is the hardest song in our set to sing, and it kills me every time. So I'm like, it's like a love-hate relationship. I'm like, that's why it's at the end of the set. So spoiler alert, it's at the end of the set, so that like I can kill my voice at the end of the night.
Yeah, just give it all right at the very end. And it's funny as well because I was probably going to say Out of Reach was the one I'm most looking forward to because unless circumstances change, something horrible happens, I will be at the Suburbia show as well. And I'll mention the sort of tour dates and things when this gets released because I'm aiming for this to be released. Basically, it's going to be a 2-parter. I'm aiming for, if my scheduling allows, for part 1 to be released before the EP comes out and then part 2 the week after because I release on Sundays, so I'm hoping that'll be it, so it'll kind of provide enough sort of hype for it and things, which will be amazing because it's like at least maybe one of the only good things about the COVID part, as well as the sort of community element of it, is like at least it's giving you more time for fans to for new fans to get into the band, because I think a lot of people have been listening to quite a lot more music and things, especially new music over lockdown in a lot of ways, but also the fans that were already fans who are going to see you, the songs have sunk in a lot more. So it's going to be this, at least you've kind of got that thing where sometimes when you do see a band live and they play a new song, it's like, this is amazing, but I don't know how the song goes, so I'm just kind of, kind of bobbing when I can, when I know, whereas at least this time it'd be like, you've had enough time to listen to this, let's get nuts.
Yeah, you know when the song's going to drop, you know when to jump. I mean, I'm probably going to be there telling people to do that anyway, just, nagging them, like, jump when this drops or I'm going to be sad.
That's such a pop punk thing to say.
I've waited years for this moment. You've got to jump or I'm going to be upset. Awesome, man. It'll be really good to see you at the show, get to meet you in person and everything, and just, have a couple of drinks and stuff and chill. So you can make it. Awesome. If you can't, don't worry. Like, understand.
I should be bringing Megan as well. So it's like, there's a few shows that are local and it's just like, I don't care what happens. If there's a hurricane in England for the first time ever, I'm going to the damn show. So as we come to the end here, let's do the wrap up then. So I'd say final statements. Statements. It sounds so formal and things like you're in an interrogation.
Closing statement.
Yeah, closing statement of this argument. So why are you pitching to this audience pop punk? What is pop punk? That's the question.
What is pop punk?
So final things that you guys want to say, and obviously I'll include links to not only your Spotify playlist that you put together, which is really cool, but also Spotify to your music page as well. But any social media you want people to hear, and just final things you guys want to say. Hit us off.
Yeah, man. Well, firstly, thank you for having us on the show. It's been awesome to just chat and stuff. It's been great to just not be asked the generic questions over and over again, just actually have an in-depth chat. So thanks for that. For anyone listening, we've got music out on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere else you can listen to it. We're called Royals. You can just search us. We're on Instagram at Royals Official UK. We've got a website. It's just royalsofficial.com. And anywhere you can find us online, we're probably there, probably spamming up your news feed of good things and naked photos of Will.
Which is still a good thing.
It is. He's a good-looking chap.
And he's been to the gym a lot. Even when it was closed, he was working out from home. So if you like good pop punk music and naked men, then I'm just appealing to females now. Okay, so obviously thank you for listening, and check us out and come to a show. We got a tour in August, I think. Yeah, August.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Tom?
And you mentioned our Spotify playlist, so if anyone doesn't know what we're like, then obviously check us out. But if you like that sound, then listen to that playlist, because everything on there is similar to what we do, and there's so many good bands in there, including some of the bands we're touring with. So yeah, get listening to them and check us out if you can.
Yeah, and if you're in a band, feel free to send us a message and submit your song. We're always looking to find some new up and coming artists.
Awesome. And do you guys want to give out your Instagram handles as well? Because I know you've each got one, or I know Tom has at least. I don't know for sure if Luke does, so I might be just throwing you in the deep end. But if you want to give them out, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I am just at Luke Royals UK.
And yeah, I'm at Tom Royals UK on Twitter, Instagram, all that. So I stole that before the other Tom joined.
Literally, like the minute I'd said, I think like before I'd even told him he was in the band, he'd pre-saved that. Like he was like, yeah, I've pre-saved that on Instagram. I've got it set up like on a private account. Otherwise, you know, he can just be Tom too.
It wasn't that. It was after I was in the band, and then you were like, "Oh, we're talking to this other guy who's also called Tom." That was the point that I made Tom Royals UK, because I was like, if it happens, I was the first Tom.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, right, that is incredible. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. I want to say it has been such a joy to speak to you guys and have a really long conversation about pop punk. And also, for clarity, I recommend people check out your band because I like most genres of music and whatnot, but pop punk I'm not a pop punk kid. You know, I like pop punk, but it's not my go-to genre. But I think your music is so appealing. All of the tracks on the EP, they are all different enough that I think it'd be hard pushed to listen to the whole thing and not find at least a track that you like the sound of, even if you're not that much of a fan of pop punk. I think, seriously, give it a go. It's really, I think it will surprise a lot of people. And it's just, I think the little moments in there that you don't expect, there's some of the things that really hit the mark for me the most, that make me going back and go, I just want to listen to that little bit. And then you go back and listen to the whole song and you're like, but that other bit's amazing too. Okay, I'll just listen to those 2 bits. And then before you know it, you listen to the song like 6 times and it's stuck in your head for weeks, which is what I've had with Out of Reach for a while now. So
thank you so much. It's nice to hear that. And I do agree, like we don't, as much as we label ourselves as a pop punk band, like we kind of want to be more than that. Like, we don't want to be, we're just some generic pop punk band playing the same thing as every other band. It's like we're trying to do something a bit different. So yeah, check it out, and hopefully there'll be a song that you like on there, guys.
Yeah, a band that uses pop and punk. There you go. That's it. That's the really old person way of saying it.
Exactly it.
Wonderful. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
So that is the end of the podcast. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. As I said, make sure you check out A Spark to Ignite on Spotify, or the multitude of music videos on Royals YouTube as well. It is all a lot of fun, and the video for Gone has been released, and it might be my favourite video so far. I really, really liked their quarantine video, but visually the video for Gone and the colour palette they use is really, really cool. I know that sounds weird, but when you watch it, you'll know what I mean. So make sure you go and give Luke, Tom and all of Royals lots of love on social media and tell them how much you enjoyed this conversation, because I certainly did. And yeah, I've been listening to their EP over the weekend because it's perfect summer music. So what else have I been up to and what we've got coming up? Well, I was on episode 37 of the What's the Topic podcast, which was out on Friday the 11th of June on the Comics in Motion podcast. I spoke with Matt, who's the host, about the first episode of the new Loki series, so make sure you check that out. Link to that is in the description. I was also on an episode of Geek Talks on the feed of Fantastic Universes. I've included a link in the description to that. I was on episode 21, so if you want to hear me talking for about an hour as to why I'm into geek culture, how my dad affected it, and my brothers, and my general view on those sort of things, then make sure you check that out, and make sure you subscribe, because there's a couple of really, really cool shows on the Fantastic Universes feed, including a lot of the individuals from Comics in Motion are doing similar episodes to that whole Geek Talks thing. So Max Bohm was on there recently. I know Jack of Jack's Musings is on there too. Aiden of Chaotic Comics, I think he was on there. So there's lots of really interesting people on the Geek Talks podcast on the feed of Fantastic Universes, and a link to that is in the description as well. So what have you got coming up? So I've currently got 3 episodes recorded in the bank, and I've got 1 for recording next week. So the ones in the bank, I've got Tom Everett, who is the actor, who we normally talk about acting stuff. So he was on a few weeks ago. It's part 2, or I say it's part 2. He came on again for another 2-parter conversation. That won't be released for a little while, because I like to give a bit of distance between releases and things when they're the same guest. Sometimes, kind of depends what the subject matter is and whatnot. But on that one, we spoke about stagecraft, and then went into talk about morality and that sort of stuff. So that was a really, really fun one. I also spoke with Francesca Rhiannon of the Writer's Voice podcast for an hour. That was a really, really cool podcast, because she's been podcasting and doing her radio show for like 14 to 16 years. So she is a veteran of the audio arts. So I'm very excited to release that one. That may be the one released next week. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to figure it out. But then the other one I've got in the bank is a chat with Michael McCormick. He is a puppeteer. He did some puppet work for the Jim Henson movie Dark Crystal, and then he did a lot more puppet work and aesthetics work on the other Jim Henson film, Labyrinth. And it was just really fun to talk with him. He's a really, really nice guy. I chatted with him for about 2 hours, and that's actually going to be an episode where I'm going to release the video of it as well. We spoke on Skype, and I recorded the video, and it's just because he shows some of the dolls that he used. There's Punch and Judy dolls. There's a doll that he has, or a puppet, that he specifically used, and you actually can see it in the film Labyrinth. He showed me some of the other stuff as well. It was just really, really cool, and I think that episode specifically does benefit quite a lot from video. So that will be released on the Genuine Chit-Chat YouTube channel. I'm going to release it all in one go, as well as on this feed. It's going to be a nice long special because, I'm not going to release half of it on the YouTube channel and then half it. It's just too much faff. I'm going to release it all in one go, so you guys get one big long conversation. So that's a lot of fun as well. Then a conversation I've got due for recording next week is going to be with a gentleman of the Like to Like Things podcast. Normally when I have conversations lined up with people, I don't like to say when I'm going to be doing it in case anything happens, we have to reschedule something. But Chris is a really, really nice guy, and I've already been on his podcast and we talk at the very least weekly. I'm also a Patreon supporter of his show as well because I just love it so much. So I'm really excited to have him on the show because I really want to big up his show because it's just so wholesome and amazing, and also he's just such a fun guy to talk to. So really, I'm very excited for that. It's going to be recorded on the Tuesday. I'm then appearing on the Beer Nuts Productions podcast. It's going to be recording that in a few weeks' time, and then it will be released at some point over the next 6 months. So who knows when that will be out, but that will be a bit of fun on that. There's a few other bits and pieces, like Moxie of Your Brain on Facts. Me and her have been speaking about doing another UK versus US episode. Listeners who listened around Christmas time will have known that I did a one with her and Megan where we spoke about some of the differences between the UK and the US at Christmas time. So we're doing a summer one. It's not going to be specifically about summer, I don't think, but we're going to talk about sort of different things between the language, how we do different things. There's quite a few cool little tidbits and things. We have a nice little Google Doc where we add things on there, so I'm very excited about that too. So lots of things in the future, and if you want to stay up to date and you want even more insight into what I'm up to, make sure you go over to patreon.com/genuinechitchat. You can subscribe and become a supporter for only £1 a month. If you do that, you get access to the Patreon audio feed. It's an RSS link that you just get emailed or get sent to you on Patreon. You can put it in wherever you listen to your podcasts, and then you get access to the Patreon audio feed. That has the episodes of Genuine Chit-Chat whenever I split them in part 1 and part 2, like I have done in this very episode. Everyone who's a Patreon supporter will get access to part 1 and part 2 of the episodes when part 1 drops. So whenever part 1 drops on this feed and on YouTube and things, any Patreon supporters get access to the entire unsplit episode. So you get that, as well as you get access to our Afterthoughts show, which me and Megan do. We do that once or twice a week. It's normally once a week, but whenever part 2 drops on this feed, I then release an Afterthoughts episode on the Sunday. So if any of you do become a Patreon supporter and then you're like, well, what about, the Sundays we get part 2 and we don't get anything new from you, Mike? Well, that's where you're wrong, because you get an Afterthoughts episode. I specifically pre-record them and make sure they get recorded and released on those dates. So we've done ones about Mitchells versus the Machines, Cruella I've got recorded. I think that's dropping in the next week or so. They're spoiler free, both of those. So when we do new stuff, it's spoiler free. We've got non-spoiler free ones to do with Star Wars and those sort of things. And also, if you become a Patreon supporter for I think it's £2 a month or more, you get access to the specific Patreon feed, which on there I put photos of the Star Wars comics and canon comics that I release on social media. I normally put them on there a few days early. I do occasional photos of my pop vinyls and collectibles and my tortoise. I do some other things on there as well. I forgot to mention also, me and Megan did a road trip recently to Somerset, and it was a half-an-hour car journey, and we just recorded going to Cider Orchard and going to the Wellington Monument and things like that. That is also on Patreon as well. So if you want to listen to me and Megan's views on our road trip and stuff, and you liked hearing, I think we did a road trip episode like last year in summer, and we've got some plans to travel in summer as well again. So I'm going to be releasing road trip episodes to do with Megan on Patreon. Don't know if I'm going to release them on the main feed of this very show as of yet. I may never do it, who knows, but a lot more people are starting to flock to Patreon, which is really nice. I've had a couple more people on there in the last week or two, so that's really, really cool. So if you want to become a supporter of the show, it's only £1 a month. It means the absolute world to me if you do, and also you do get access to several hours of additional content per month as well. So all of those great things. But if you don't want to support the show financially, still go over to patreon.com/genuinechitchat, because the Witcher Season 1 review is up there. The episode of Star Wars The Phantom Menace that me and Megan recorded, that's on there as well, both completely for free. You may have to scroll down a little bit because there were some of the earlier releases, but when you go over there, you can scroll quite far down. It shows you all the locked posts and things. Eventually you'll be able to find the unlocked post and it will be there. So that's basically the plug for Patreon. And then the other thing is my other show, Star Wars Comics in Canon. Very briefly, I release a a Star Wars show every Saturday on the feed of Comics in Motion, and I basically talk about Star Wars comics. I specifically make them so they're perfect if you've never read a Star Wars comic in your life, or if you've read every Star Wars comic, which I would be very impressed if you have. I do it in a way where I go over the narratives, the connective tissues, and the bits and pieces like that, so that you can listen in if you've never read the comic. I give you enough narrative information, go through the story, explain what happens so you understand what happens in the story, so you don't have to spend ages and ages reading it. I also do the connective tissue, like some of the species that appear, some of the planets, some of the other things, like when a certain Imperial officer gets named, and you're like, I recognise that name, where's that from? Well, I tell you. So I do all those sort of bits and pieces. It's perfect to read along with comics and listen to along with you're reading the comics, which is what a lot of people do, or it's perfect if you just don't have time for the Star Wars comics, but you want to know what's going on in the canon. I'm also doing the War of the Bounty Hunters. I'm embarking on that next week, so that is going to be the crossover event that's going to last, I think, 5 or 6 months between the main run of Star Wars, Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra, Bounty Hunters, the War of the Bounty Hunters, a mini-series, and a few one-shots as well. 34 issues in total over the next several months. So once a month on there, I'm going to be doing that and talking about, connections and things like that. And already there's some pretty cool connections going on in the comics at the moment, so I'm very excited to see where it goes and sort of the future, because the one I'm going to be recording next week is just the preludes, and then it's like the 5 main ones. So very excited to release that. If you are a Star Wars fan in any caliber at all, just go over there. You can cherry pick episodes you fancy listening to. Some of the older episodes I've done ones all about Darth Maul, about Kylo Ren. I've done ones that are just about characters from the sequel trilogy, original trilogy. There's loads of them, and if you're a bit unsure and it's a bit overwhelming, go over to YouTube and find the Genuine Chit-Chat YouTube channel. I put all the episodes of Genuine Chit-Chat on there, and also all the episodes of Star Wars Comics and Canon on there, and the Star Wars Comics and Canon ones are all in nice playlists. So there's ones that are about, if you just want information about characters and bio information, there's a playlist for that where I've just got episodes about those. If you want to just hear about the main run of Star Wars comics or the main run of Dr. Aphra comics, they're all in there as well. I took a little bit of a while trying to sort that out. There's going to be more in playlists too, but also it's the same with Genuine Chit Chat. If you just want to listen to every band I've spoken to on this podcast, you can just go to YouTube and there's a playlist specifically for band and music related chats. Same with like books and authors, same with movies, lots of different things. So if you are a new listener and you really enjoy the show but you don't really know where to start and you don't fancy scrolling through the podcasting app and vaguely reading everything, if you just want to hear things that are quite connected, go over to the YouTube channel or hit me up on social media. You could literally tweet me or contact me on Facebook or Instagram. It's all at Genuine Chit Chat. I think on Instagram it's at genuine_chit chat, because I'm a moron when I made my Instagram handle and didn't make it the same as Twitter. But please contact me, or you can email me. If anyone just wants a suggestion on something to listen to, if you just want things that are more funny or whatever, just hit me up on social media and ask me if you don't fancy going on YouTube. But yeah, guys, that is the plug for everything I'm involved with at the moment. Really hope you guys enjoyed this chat with Royals. Obviously, make sure you give them all the love, as I said. Listen to their EP because it is excellent, especially for summer. And at the moment, I'm absolutely sweltering, so it works quite nicely for that while I'm drinking a cider and my iced coffees and things. But yeah, that's relatively everything I'm up to. Really appreciate all you guys listening. I give you all the love in the world, except I give the people on Patreon a little bit more love, just a sprinkling more of a portion of my undying love. But I still appreciate any of you guys listening to the show. It genuinely means the world to me that so many people listen. So thank you as always, guys, and I will talk to you next week. I haven't figured out who I'm releasing, so it's going to be a bit of a surprise for you guys and for me. Anyway, thanks as always, guys. Have a great week.